Life-changing lessons from the book, Breaking Free of the Codependency Trap. Number 1. Codependency is a cultural and evolutionary problem that almost everyone struggles with at some point, so there is no stigma or shame about having codependency issues. When viewed from a developmental perspective, there is no need to feel you have some dreaded disease or to feel hopeless or helpless. Recognizing codependency issues as an opportunity for personal growth and discovery can help you break free of cultural and family patterns that prevent you from evolving into who you really are at a soul level. We estimate that approximately 98% of all Americans suffer from symptoms of codependency. We believe that fewer than 1% of these people are fully aware of the impact of codependency on their lives, and even fewer are taking steps to change themselves. Symptoms of codependency. The following is a list of some of the major symptoms of codependency. 1. Being addicted to people. 2. Feeling trapped in abusive, controlling relationships. 3. Having low self-esteem. 4. Needing constant approval and support from others in order to feel good about yourself. 5. Feeling powerless to change destructive relationships. 6. Needing alcohol, food, work, sex, or some other outside stimulation to distract you from your feelings. 7. Feeling like a martyr. 8. Being a people pleaser. 9. Being unable to experience true intimacy and love. Number 2. A new 12-step program for recovering from codependency. The following list briefly describes our self-directed method of recovery from codependency, which expands the traditional 12-step process. 1. Recognize codependent patterns. Admit there is a problem you cannot solve with your current information and resources. 2. Understand the causes of the problem. Learn how to identify the effects of unhealed developmental traumas in your relationships. 3. Unravel codependent relationships. Learn to identify the symptoms of the problem as they exist in your current relationships and take steps to heal them. 4. Reclaim your projections. Stop blaming your problems on others. 5. Eliminate self-hate. Stop blaming and criticizing yourself for your mistakes and imperfections. 6. Eliminate power plays and manipulation. Stop manipulating others to get what you want. 7. Ask for what you want. Be willing to ask for what you want all the time, rather than expecting others to know what you want. 8. Learn to feel again. Learn to fully feel and express all your feelings. 9. Heal your inner child. Begin developing a stronger inner awareness of your thoughts, feelings, values, needs, wants, and desires. 10. Define your own boundaries. Learn to define the psychological boundaries between yourself and others. 11. Learn to be intimate. Healing yourself involves learning how to be close to others so that you can get the necessary information, nurturing, mirroring, and secure bonding you need. Mirroring is especially important. It involves others seeing you at a being or soul level and appreciating your inner qualities, such as compassion and empathy, rather than praising you for what you do or possess. 12. Learn new forms of relationship. Learn to live in a fluid state of relationship with your true self and with others, which will allow the development of your fullest potential. This recovery process takes time and effort. We generally recommend that people plan to spend about 1 month in recovery for every year that they have lived. Thus, a 36-year-old person can expect to spend 3 years working on recovery while breaking free of his or her codependent patterns. However, you can and will see immediate significant progress toward your goal. If you haven't subscribed to our channel, you probably will not see us again. If you have, congratulations, you are growing every day. Number 3. The human race is evolving and moving away from dominator social structures and toward partnership models of relationship. This shift supports feminine, life-giving values such as nurturing, empathy, and planning for generations yet unborn that are at the core of our developmental approach to healing codependency. While this evolutionary shift is happening in all parts of our society, it is being experienced most intensely in couple and family structures, and in small group situations such as work, schools, and churches. There are periods when this change process can feel intense and lonely. So we want you to know that the work that you are doing on yourself, in your most intimate relationships, in both your family of origin and family of creation, and in your work and social relationships, is very important. As you break free of the codependency trap, you inspire others to also become free. While this is a valuable social motivation, the most important outcome is that you learn to experience and express who you are at a soul level. Number 4. The 4 stages of development. In our developmental model, codependency is the first of 4 stages to be completed by the age of 29. Ideally, the developmental process should occur in the following way. When we are born, we are already in the first stage, codependency. Nature provides a symbiotic relationship between child and mother in which neither experiences separation between them. This is nature's way of ensuring that the human infant will get the care it needs to survive. Mother and child live together enmeshed in an energetic field of unity, working on the essential processes of bonding and creating trust. This stage lasts about 6 months until the child begins to crawl. The second stage of the development process is the counter-dependent stage. During this period, which peaks between 18 and 36 months of age, the essential developmental process is separation. By this time, both parents and child strongly need to become more independent from each other. The child has a strong drive to explore the world and be separate, and conveys the message, "I want to do it myself," while the parents yearn to spend more time on their long-term interests, such as their careers and their marital relationship. If the separation stage is completed without any problems, then, by about age 3, the child is ready to move into the third stage, independence. During this stage, which usually lasts until about age 6, the child is able to function autonomously much of the time and still feels and acts related to his or her parents and family. Upon completion of this stage, the child is ready to move into the next stage of development, interdependence. In this fourth stage, which usually lasts from age 6 to age 29, the degree of relationship between the child and others fluctuates. At times the child may wish to be close, and at other times she or he may wish to be more separate. The child's primary task during this stage is to develop the ability to move back and forth comfortably between oneness and separateness. Note: if anything interferes with the bonding process between the mother and child, the child not only gets stuck in codependency, but also has difficulty trusting others. Newborn babies almost immediately bond with both the mother and the father. The sound of their voices, the sight of their faces while they hold or feed the child, the feel of their skin, and the smell of their bodies are constant anchors for the child, indicating that there is order and consistency in a seemingly chaotic and confusing world. Number 5. Relationships between one codependent and one counterdependent partner are very common. A person who has emotionally distant parents often marries a person who is more dependent and emotionally needy, while a person with overly dependent or clinging parents seeks out a mate who is more detached. This attraction of opposites is often an attempt to heal unresolved developmental trauma involving bonding and separation. Relationships between such opposites, however, often have more conflict because these early issues recycle frequently and press for completion. At the core of recurring relational conflict is usually a reenactment of developmental trauma involving one or both parents. It's useful to frame such a conflict as an opportunity for growth rather than as something bad or dysfunctional. Number 6. Recovering from codependency is a process with predictable steps. While the order of these steps may be different for each individual, we suggest reviewing and reflecting on each step. Some people may find they need to do more in-depth work on some of the steps. For example, the first step, which involves recognizing the extent of the codependency patterns in your relationships, can take considerable time and effort. What makes it so difficult is that codependency may be so pervasive in your close relationships that you may not recognize it as dysfunctional behavior. As a friend of ours said when we described a codependency pattern, "What's wrong with that? Everybody acts that way." Other steps also can require intensive work. Learning to feel your feelings more fully and to express your feelings in effective ways, for example, usually requires some focused work. Here are the 12 steps that we recommend. 1. Recognize codependent patterns. There are many ways to avoid recognizing codependency in yourself. Experiencing codependency can be like being asleep. You dream that things are a certain way, and even if they aren't that way, you keep dreaming they are. Because almost everything around you has codependent overtones, you may not be aware that there is a better way to live. For you, denial may have been a safety mechanism you learned in order to survive. If you really saw or talked about what was happening in the family in which you grew up, you might not have survived childhood. You may have been taught not to notice what was happening to you and to other people in your family in order to maintain the appearance that yours was one big happy family. Of all the things you were taught to ignore, the denial of your own feelings has the most devastating effects on you and your relationships. Codependency is a feeling disorder. 2. Understand the causes of the problem. There is much disagreement in the literature about the actual causes of codependency. Some claim it's the result of a genetic weakness, while others claim it comes from contact with alcoholics or an alcoholic family. Our thesis is that it's caused by developmental trauma during the first 6 months of life, and that this prevents full bonding. It is also a systemic problem created by growing up in a dysfunctional family and codependent society. 3. Unravel codependent relationships. Once you understand that codependency is caused by trauma and incomplete relationship processes, it is possible to recognize these recycling in your present relationships. In codependent relationships, your psychological birth is always pressing for completion. Once you recognize what is not complete, you can, with additional support and new skills, complete your bonding and consciously finish the separation process. 4. Reclaim your projections. When you attempt to become separate by defining others as wrong or bad, you usually use projection as a coping mechanism. You are able to see in other people the parts of yourself that you don't like. Anger, the tendency to be controlling and self-centeredness, and you may pass judgment on or blame people with these behaviors. You may also twist reality so that you can be right or good and justify your behavior by defining others as wrong or bad. Reclaiming these projected parts of yourself often requires loving confrontation and the committed support of others, a group, family members, friends, partners, a spouse, or a therapist. Projections are building blocks in the wall of denial. The blocks tend to fall away slowly until your wall of denial falls and you can see and accept all of who you are. 5. Eliminate self-hate. If you haven't become separate from your mother or your family, and you've tried to separate by defining her or them as wrong or bad, you've probably defined yourself as wrong or bad as well. If you've denied having these negative feelings, they may still control your life. It's necessary to uncover, claim, and transform these negative perceptions. They're based on illusions and are the result of incomplete separation. By understanding that these projections are a source of low self-esteem, you can correct them. 6. Eliminate power plays and manipulation. Lacking the full natural power that comes from completing the psychological birth, you are likely to use power plays and manipulation to get what you want. The drama triangle, the rescuer, persecutor, and victim game, is a common way to manipulate others while remaining passive. As you find more effective ways to get people to cooperate with you, your need to control others will diminish. 7. Ask for what you want. One of the simplest, most straightforward ways to get what you want is to ask for it directly in such a way that people who have it to give are delighted to give it to you. Most people don't ask directly. For example, a person who has plans to go out may say to his or her partner, "I might be needing the car later," and then feel disappointed when the other person doesn't read his or her mind. Or someone might say, without negotiating, "I'm taking the car tonight," so that the other person gets angry and says, "No." 8. Learn to feel again. Children raised in dysfunctional families learn very early to deny their feelings and perceptions about what is happening in their families. One of the most frequently denied feelings is anger. Even though people in codependent relationships feel angry much of the time, anger must be justified before they can safely express it. Someone must be blamed or made the scapegoat for all the family's unhappiness and problems. Children often are used in this way. As an adult, you must learn to recognize and express the feelings you learn to deny in order to survive your childhood. People cannot recover from codependency without reclaiming their feelings. 9. Heal your inner child. If you grew up in a codependent family, you were taught to focus on what others wanted and needed rather than on what you wanted and needed. You were forced to create a false self in order to please others and to hide your true self, including your innocent, vulnerable inner child. Your inner child suffered from developmental traumas unconsciously inflicted by supposedly caring, loving people. They may have laughed at you, teased you, not respected or listened to you, physically beat you, or ignored your most important needs to keep from feeling hurt. It may have been necessary to hide your traumas from the outside world. In the process, you also may have hidden them from yourself. Recovery involves reconnecting with and healing your inner child. 10. Define your own boundaries. Everyone has a psychological space or territory that belongs to him or her alone. It consists of one's thoughts, feelings, behaviors, and body. Most people who come from codependent families had their psychological space violated so often as children that they are no longer even aware when it happens now. Most people with codependency issues have very little sense of their personal boundaries and almost no skills in defining and protecting themselves when they are violated. It's essential to learn how to define and protect your boundaries in effective ways if you wish to break your codependency patterns. 11. Learn to be intimate. Those with codependency issues often both fear and desire intimacy. The fear is often that they will be abandoned, controlled, hurt, engulfed, or trampled by those with whom they are intimate. Breaking codependency requires finding others with whom to safely bond. People often need reparenting experiences with a therapist or another supportive adult who can supply the missing information, touch, nurturing support, and unconditional love necessary for completing the bonding stage and supporting the psychological birth. 12. Learn new forms of relationship. Most people who have lived with codependency patterns have little or no awareness that they are missing the richness of life. They may be vaguely aware that there has to be more to life than this, which allows them to begin taking risks to change. What replaces codependency is interdependency, where two or more people are autonomous enough to be able to co-create life together and are able to support the highest good in each other. If you haven't subscribed to our channel, you probably will not see us again. If you have, congratulations, you are growing every day.